Hello, my name is Brian Burke, and I read a book.
His truth is marching on.
The Zealot and The Emancipator by H.W. Brands is a book that follows the lives of two men in the lead up to the Civil War. The titular zealot is John Brown, a man who is best known for his body lying a moldering in the grave while his soul yet still marches on. The Emancipator is none other than the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln. John Brown was a terrorist by nearly any definition. His early work involved outright murder, specifically 5 men at Potawatomi Creek. Brown, of course, denied the charges, but broadswords were, by that time, a unique weapon that left distinct marks. This alone did not make John Brown a particularly egregious offender. At least, he wasn't worse than the Mississippians who moved across the border to force Kansas to adopt a slave constitution. No, what made John Brown an enemy of the Union was his attack on Harper's Ferry, Virginia, now West Virginia. Brown somehow got it in his head that if he captured the arsenal there, slaves from all across the South would rise up and turn on their masters. He did succeed in capturing the arsenal, yet the slave revolt he was looking for never occurred. The arsenal was retaken by the U.S., and John Brown was captured. He was tried by the Virginia judiciary, who he adamantly asserted would not hold a fair trial for him, and was sentenced to be hanged. Now you may be asking, what does all this have to do with Lincoln? Superficially, there is very little between Abraham Lincoln and John Brown. The author of this book only mentions one mutual friend, Frederick Douglass. So any relation between the actions of Brown and Lincoln will, by necessity, require some connection drawing. Consider, if you will, the following assertion. Abraham Lincoln was an abolitionist. To our modern understanding of abolitionism, there is little objectionable about that sentence. After all, Lincoln freed the slaves. Yet no one would of the day, in good faith, make that claim. Not everyone who opposed slavery would have been considered an abolitionist, but all abolitionists opposed slavery. This is how the Republican Party was an anti-slavery party. That's actually more or less why it was founded, yet it was never really an abolitionist party. Southern Democrats, and a few northern ones to boot, found it politically expedient to intentionally blur the lines between anti-slavery sentiments and abolitionism. This political gamesmanship could have been extraordinarily dangerous to the fledgling Republican Party, since the work of John Brown was, justifiably, disturbing to many moderates. Lincoln worked tirelessly, sometimes against other powerful figures in his own party, to distance himself from John Brown and the extremist abolitionists. Nothing was more mortifying than when, shortly after the outbreak of the Civil War, some northern troops were caught singing, "John Brown's body lies a moldering in the grave, his soul is marching on." Lincoln's ultimate goal was to preserve the Union and avoid the appearance of sectarian squabble. If he had to free no slaves, so be it. If he had to free all of the slaves, so be it. There's a reason the Emancipation Proclamation is a dull read. It avoids the hallmarks of sectarian triumph like the plague. Brands finishes his book with thoughts from Frederick Douglass. The gist of it is that Lincoln could have done more to oppose slavery and ensure civil rights. Yet, Douglass also has the insight to realize that Lincoln was only capable of doing as much as he was because he was relatively non-threatening. Sure, had a man with the zeal of John Brown become president, there would have been a much greater executive energy exerted on behalf of the slave. But such a president would have undoubtedly been impeached and removed from office within a very short time. What's more, such a president's policies wouldn't have even been enacted in the first place. When I first started reading this book, I was a bit confused about the pairing of John Brown and Abraham Lincoln. It's odd. These two men never directly interact with each other, but they somehow warrant a dual biography. There's a Thomas Sowell quote about Lincoln and a man similar to Brown, William Lloyd Garrison. Garrison's rhetoric may look better to a later generation, but the cold fact is that William Lloyd Garrison did not free a single slave, while Abraham Lincoln freed millions. I think that's what this book is about. The dichotomy between ineffective zeal and effective lackadaisy. I highly recommend this book.